Hi, Ted Wright from Epic Archaeology. On today's Arrow Points, we're going to talk about the violation of the third commandment. Okay, so today I want to talk about something that you very rarely hear apologists or even archaeologists or scholars talk about, and that is the violation of the third commandment. So one of the things that I teach at Epic Archaeology is that archaeology can function in three ways. It can clarify, it can affirm, and it can illuminate the story of the Bible. And this is an instance in which archaeology can help us understand and give us illumination about this commandment. Now, oftentimes Christians, when they talk about taking God's name in vain, they usually have some idea about using God's name with a curse word or maybe saying it in an empty way. But the question I want to ask is, what did that commandment mean to the Israelites when it was given to the Israelites over 3,000 years ago? Because obviously they didn't really know God's name, or at least they had a very vague understanding of what God's name was. So how would an Israelite have violated the third commandment? So this is where archaeology can come in. So going back to this idea about the Israelites being in Egypt, we understand that being in Egypt, that would have really influenced them and their thinking about God. Obviously, the first commandment is to have no other gods. The second commandment is to not make any graven images. And the third commandment is to not take God's name in vain. And I think they're actually connected in a very intimate way. Obviously, the first two commandments would have addressed the idea that very likely was floating around among the Israelites, and that is that God, Yahweh, was like the Egyptian gods. And God was making it very clear in the first commandment not to take or not to have any other gods before him. There were multiple gods in Egypt, and it would have definitely been a temptation to worship these other gods. And then secondly, these Egyptian gods would have been in the form of birds and animals and falcons and all types of other things. So hence the second commandment is to not make any graven images in the form of any kind of animals or anything else. And I think the third commandment is actually also connected to the Israelites being in Egypt. And this is where archaeology and really Egyptology comes into play in understanding the violation of the third commandment. So as archaeologists begin to unlock all the secrets of ancient Egypt back over 100 years ago, as they deciphered the Rosetta Stone and began to unlock the secrets of Egypt, what they discovered is it opened up the entire world of ancient Egypt and their religion and their thoughts and their understanding about the afterlife and the gods and all these sorts of things. And one of the things that Egyptologists have learned is that in Egypt, the Egyptians would have a household god. And the god, or the Egyptian god, would have a special sacred name. And if the Egyptian were to speak this sacred name or invoke this name, then the god, it would sort of indicate a power over that god. And that god sort of had to do what the petitioner asked. And so the violation of the third commandment, I believe, has to do with God basically saying to the Israelites, listen, I am not like these Egyptian gods. You can't just invoke my name and I come running and do what you will. It was sort of like, in fact, not was it sort of like it, it was actually magic. It was like having a powerful word and speaking that word, the name of God, and using the name to get what you wanted. Now, where this really becomes relevant today is especially we see this violation in much of the Word of Faith movement. Many Word of Faith teachers will talk about the power of language and how you can speak things into existence or out of existence. That is a violation of the third commandment in a major way because our words really have no power. It's only God's word that has power, and only God can speak creation into existence. And by saying a special name of God or by saying a special word or saying it over and over again is really nothing more than just magic or using some type of magical formula to get about our will. So the violation of the third commandment is something that is very important. We don't want to take God's name in vain, but it didn't mean back then what we think it means today. And that is, whenever we say the special name of God, then we get our will done. But that is not exactly what God meant. God says, you cannot invoke my name and I do what you will. So this is another instance in which archaeology can really illuminate the story of the Bible. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, then please hit subscribe on YouTube, and thank you for watching.